Good evening. You are watching The Ordinary Show. I'm Frank Morris, and for Cheryl Brown. And today we have two very special guests. We have Dan Mozell and Bobby Wynn. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you, Frank, for having us.
It's good to be here.
As you can see, they've got a couple of instruments with them, so you can only guess that these ordinary people are doing extraordinary things with their musical instruments. And I'd like you both to take a minute to introduce who you are, what you do, and how long you've been doing it. Dan, why don't you take a start?
Well, we've been playing music in one form or another together since about 1982, and it's taken us on many roads through many versions of what we like to present, and it's involved Bobby's songwriting a great deal and composing. It's involved contemporary music and traditional styles from Ireland and Scotland and England, and it's taken us to Nashville. It's taken us a lot of places. We've performed in folk clubs, and we've also performed in historic sites dressed up in 18th century clothes. So there have been many versions of what we do together, and it's been a lot of fun.
Pretty wonderful. And you play the guitar, the mandolin, and also occasionally the fiddle. Is that right?
Occasionally the fiddle, but not today.
No, not today.
Today I'd rather hear the harp.
Yeah, definitely a beautiful instrument we have in front of us. And Bobby, so you play the harp here. And how long have you been playing the harp for?
When did I get my first harp? My goodness. I bought a harp in 1977 or 8, or maybe a little bit later, but I didn't learn to play it. I had it in my house and walked around it and thought, because I didn't play piano or anything.
Wow, okay.
So the only instrument that I had played other than a ukulele when I was a kid was the Appalachian mountain dulcimer, which is a modal instrument, and it's not anything like the harp. So it was hard picking this up, and I finally figured out I really needed a teacher. I was not going to be able to figure this out. And so I had lessons with a pedal harpist for a very brief time, long enough to know what the strings meant and how to play them. And I wish I had started when I was really, really young, but it's still a wonderful instrument. It's great for accompanying your songs and writing instrumentals.
Yeah, definitely. It's a beautiful instrument and a unique one too. Not too many people you see carrying a harp around with them.
More these days than before.
More these days than before. And you two, you relayed a story to me about how you two met, and what was that situation like?
Well, would you like to tell this?
Well, I could start it and you could sort of interject, I guess, because you've probably got the more interesting part of the story, but we did meet in Grand Central Station.
We did. It was very romantic.
Both of us were on our way to a folk music festival, which at the time was known as the Great Hudson River Revival, a festival run by an environmental organization called Clearwater, which works on cleaning up the Hudson River and educating people about environmental issues. And the same day that we met and went up on the train together to that festival, Bobby bumped into somebody else who perhaps was more inspirational to her in her future musical directions. And who was that?
Well, there was this big guy with a banjo, and he was playing the banjo and trying to stop the volunteers from complaining that the food wasn't ready. And I tapped him on the shoulder and I said, "Hey, mister, I've got a dulcimer back in the camp." And he said, "Well, go get the dulcimer." So I go barreling off and come back and sit down. And by now there's this huge crowd sitting there. And so I sat down with him and he said, "Well, what can you play?" So I started playing some songs. And he just joined right in with me, and it was exciting. And I couldn't imagine why all these people were sitting there that long, and we played for half an hour. So I get to say that the first person I ever played folk music with was Seager.
Wow, wonderful. That is a great story.
And people kept coming up to me. I was just a volunteer for the festival. I was a painter at the time, back at home in New York City. And people kept coming up to me and saying, "Where can we get your record?" And I kept saying, "Oh, I'm not a musician, I'm a painter." And then I thought, the heck with this. This was so much more fun. So I ended up running away with the Raggle Taggle Gypsies and became a musician and
Wonderful.
got back in touch with Peter, and we've played with him and lots of other really great folk musicians.
Great. And now we have the opportunity to listen to you two play, or at least for the first song, just you, right, Bobby? Play a song. And give us a little bit of an intro into what the song is that you're about to perform.
Okay, this is a song that I wrote back in about 1985 when New York was experiencing a flood of homeless people who had been turned out of institutions without hardly any help and had no place to go. And I got tired of people who had no experience of homeless people saying, well, those people just don't want to work. They're able-bodied people who simply don't want to work. And that was not the people I was stepping over when I was walking along. So I wrote about an old lady who, in the song, her name is Annie. It's called Annie's Lament. And she explains that she simply ran out of money. Her husband died and her eyes went bad and she could no longer make a living, and she got turned out of her apartment. And the irony is that her ancestors were Scottish, and she says her people came over here in 1810 because of the clearances, which were a program of land evictions in the Highlands that turned a lot of the crofters, the tenant farmers, out so that the owners could run sheep, and that's how we got a lot of our Scottish population over here. So the irony is that she is the descendant of somebody, and now the same thing is still happening. And I had always hoped that this song, like so many topical songs, would become outdated, but it is not. Unfortunately, it is so not.
Exactly. And still a very prevalent issue.
Yeah.
So Bobby, why don't you go and take it away for us?
Okay. My name is Annie Johnston and I'm living in the streets. I spend the morning sleeping, morning working, and the nighttime on my feet. Each afternoon I look for work, I will not stoop to theft, but pride don't keep me warm enough, and pride's all I got left. I spent my days a tailoring until my eyes went bad. I thought that I could make it on the savings that I had. My husband died 10 years ago, still I could pay the rent, but the landlord kept on raising it until it all was spent. I wound up in a shelter with the other homeless ones, the sick ones and the dying, someone's daughters, someone's sons, the violent and the crazy, whether white or brown or black. It's as close I come to hell on earth, I'm never going back. My people come from Scotland back in 1810. Evicted in the clearances, they had to start again. I guess they was as scared as me with all their money gone. But I am old and all alone, and winter's coming on. I hide this bag inside my coat, it holds my one good dress. I put it on to look for work, my other stuff's a mess. I wash in public restrooms, let the people stare and blink. hard enough to look for jobs and harder when you stink. There's churches in this city that the landlords all attend. Men and women like my landlords who tell me God's my friend. They've stolen every bit I've saved and took my home from me. Now they feed me soup and sermons in the name of charity. I may not be important, but before you walk away, forgetting that you saw me, listen hard to what I say. This earth is not so large a thing as once it used to be. So whatever we create here will touch you the same as me.
Sounds very beautiful.
Thank you.
Definitely a powerful message behind that song. You mentioned that it is still a major issue that is being dealt with all over the country. I know here in Cambridge and at Central Square, those of you at home who are watching, you know that homelessness is still an issue here in Cambridge. So I love the way that you're able to get the message about through song.
Well, Pete one time looked at me. I was sitting there with my harp. I used to have all these little curls and, you know, my big round eyes and everything. And he said, "You can get in where some people can't get in."
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, is that that's a good thing. That's a very good thing. And the harp is a gentle instrument. I think of myself as a fairly gentle person. I don't know if my husband thinks of me as such, but
Usually.
I believe in dialogue. I believe in people sitting down and talking.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to do so much more of that in this country. You know, especially our government. There were times where people used to totally disagree with each other in the Congress, and then they'd go out and have a beer afterwards. That no longer happens, and that's so unfortunate. So, you know, we need to do something about that, guys.
Definitely. And so that song had a message behind it, but you also have, now do many of your songs have important messages like that about the social
Yeah.
situation?
You've got a funny one that has a message, right?
I do. I do. I need another
Yeah, please.
drink of water before we do that.
Yeah, Bobby was telling me a little bit about this song. just before the show, and I think it's one that you all will enjoy. What is this song?
This is called A Necessary Transaction.
This
And
is
it's
the
a-
one where the guitar player gets to play.
All right, awesome. There you go.
I thought the guitar player was basically the ghillie, the boy who carries the harp.
I do that too.
Important job to have.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, this is a song about selling out. And I don't know, I think there have been times when we've all been able to relate to this song. So,
All right, let's hear it.
okay. Now, Norma Jean was a pretty thing. She couldn't much dance. She could hardly sing. One day she packed her bags and then she caught a bus to L.A., California. Met a man named Gus Jackson. Big producer said her assets weren't bad. And with a little pressure in the right places, contract he had.
Necessary transaction.
And he would anyone is
Necessary transaction.
Tail magnet who shouted nameless went belly up, but he still goes blameless. He stole the stockholders' money till he lost his shirt, and then his life got tangled with some personal dirt. All the board of directors, and he said, "Gentlemen, I leave it all up to you. I owe you so much money that if I go under, I'll owe you under too."
Necessary transaction.
And do what anyone is willing.
Necessary transaction.
Tell me about it, Dan. Sportsmen and women have no fear, although a law was passed that said for hunting small game and deer. It is not necessarily desirable for the general public to have access to an automatic weapon designed for rapid immediate fire in a wartime situation capable of demolishing an entire battalion of foot soldiers and or cavalry in a matter of 10 seconds or less. Manufacturers winked and smiled and changed the package. They changed that gun's design. Now certain congressmen in the NRA, they get along just fine. They took the grenade launcher off and tied it up with the bow and said, "We made the gun safer." Ha! But you and I know.
Necessary transaction.
And you would anyone is willing.
Necessary transaction.
Now I'm playing in clubs
trapped.
Yeah, 'cause there ain't no such thing.
No such thing as what, Bobby?
There ain't no such thing as free lunch.
That was really enjoyable. It's a funny song. Important message behind it too, about how money can kind of get you just about anything. It's necessary transactions. No, thanks for that. You know,
You're very welcome.
we have time for I think one more song if you all are interested in one.
Well, let's see.
Would you like to give them something that's pretty on the harp so that they at least know that they heard a harp?
All right. Let's see. This is a tune. This is also a tune I wrote a long time ago. I'm not playing any of my more recent tunes yet. Not today, anyway. Because this one is so much more appropriate. It's called "High Summer Solitude," and it's so hot out today that
All right.
it feels almost like summer.
That's perfect.
So, I just realized that this entire time I have had my glasses up on the top of my head where they can do no good, so I may as well continue.
Yeah.
No, you have to see the granny look here, you know. There.
There you go.
That's to show that we are very old and very wise.
We are very old and very wise, it's true.
That is, you know, the wise part. I don't know about very old.
I have a goose puppet who I used to work with the Marionette Theater, and I took her apart. She was a stuffed animal. She has little granny glasses and a colonial outfit too,
Yeah.
and she can open her mouth and turn her head around here. So maybe sometime we'll bring Elspeth along.
That's wonderful.
So she's very rude.
And may I ask how long is the song that you're about to perform?
As long as
As
or as
long-
short as you want it
You
to
know what?
be.
You can fade out on it.
Oh, all right, yeah, perfect. So you know what? So before we go into the song and end the show on the
Yes.
song, I just want to recap who y'all are, and again, thank you so much for being on the show today on the
Oh, our
Ordinary Show.
pleasure.
Another example of ordinary people doing extraordinary things that Cheryl Brown loves to have on her show. Dan Mozell and Bobby Wynn. And where can people learn more about your music, who you are, purchase your music?
I can answer that question.
Okay.
You can come visit us in two places. You can go to bjwayne.com/harp, and you'll get one side of us there. And you can also go to colonialmusic.net to see us dressed in very funny clothes and doing a different kind of music.
We've
So
been
both
doing
of
that
those
for
places.
about 30 years, so.
Right, that was Art's Delight.
Art's
right,
Delight,
Art's
yes.
Delight. Okay.
We love doing historical shows,
Yeah.
so all you historical
Great, wonderful.
fans out there.
Perfect. So we've got about 4 minutes left in
Okay.
the show.
You
Let's
ready?
round out the show with this. Thanks again, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Frank.
You're
1,
welcome.
2, 3.
Wonderful. Again, thank you so much, and thanks to all of you at home for watching. This has been The Ordinary Show. I'm Frank Morris with Dan Mozell and Bobby Wynn.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
You're most welcome.
Thank you so much